Hi, this is Tara MacLean here with John Broughton on Retrospectives on KC Radio 97.7 FM.
Alrighty, well, we'll see how we go with this. As I mentioned to you in my email the other day, I haven't read the book entirely, but I have read various extracts, but I will read the whole thing from cover to cover in good time. But I have read extracts to get a good sense of the story, and it can make for uncomfortable reading at times. Growing up in virtual poverty, graphic stories of child abuse, a house fire that nearly killed you, jail time, the fickle nature of the music industry. It just goes on and on. It can make for uncomfortable reading, but I can only imagine how uncomfortable it must have been for you at times to relive some of those things when writing.
Absolutely. It took everything in me to open up some of those cans of worms. And in the end, I have to say, I just feel lighter for going there and writing about those things and being completely honest. I figured I had one shot at this opportunity, so I might as well just go for it.
Yeah. And that you did. Did you learn anything about the whole book writing experience that you weren't aware of prior to taking on the challenge?
Well, yes. I had no idea what my voice sounded like in prose. I'd only ever written songs or a short essay or some poetry. So, I did learn that you have to really sit down and work every single day at it. It's not, you can't wait for the muses to hit you like I do with music. You have to sit, if you have, 350 pages to write, you have to be very, very disciplined. And so that was new. That was new for me.
And I believe you wrote most of the book during the pandemic lockdowns?
Yeah, that's right. And that was really good timing for me.
I guess that would have given you a lot of time to really focus and reflect on your life. Would there be a book out now if it hadn't been for those lockdowns, do you think?
I don't know. It probably would have taken me a lot longer to write it. And, I had just gone through a breakup with my husband of 16 years right before I got my book deal. So I was feeling, very open, very raw, and very honest and very free. and so I feel like, all of those things together combined with the time of not touring was really, really perfect for writing this book.
Yeah. Often in interviews, I'll talk to songwriters about the therapeutic nature of songwriting, writing songs of a personal nature. And I guess with this book and being aware of your backstory now, I can only imagine that therapeutic effect would be multiplied 100 times over.
I couldn't believe how good I felt after the book was released. I was quite nervous in the weeks leading up to it because, obviously it's about my family and my history and just my innermost secrets, really. And I was so nervous. And then the moment that it was published, I felt like I had lost 1,000 pounds. I felt so light, so joyful, and then, became a bestseller the first week. And I couldn't believe it. And so, yeah, and I just realized, too, the therapeutic nature of sharing our stories. And one of the things that's happened from this book being released is people have started writing to me and telling me their stories. And so I really feel that, we're holding each other's stories together and our pain together, that, we might make it through.
Yeah. So there was really that sense of a massive burden unloaded.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess even if you hadn't sold a single copy, it would have been worth it.
That's right, absolutely. But there is something about, especially the people in my life who love me, who didn't know a lot of these things, reading the book and coming to me and saying, I had no idea about this. You gave me snippets of it, but I can't believe you're as buoyant as you are as a person after having been through that. And I really think it's the fact that I was able to write songs all my life and had music to save me at every turn, that I was able to keep lightening the load. Every song was like a lightning effect. And then this book was just, everything.
Has there been any interest in developing the book and giving it film treatment or even a documentary type treatment?
Yeah, there's talk about both of those things for the book.
Excellent.
We're just in the process of that. We do have someone definitely interested in doing a documentary, but, and the film business right now is in a bit of a tumultuous moment. So, but I'm just, trying to get the book to as many people as I can. mostly just because I want, people to hear the story. And I like, even though, as you say, it's difficult reading, I like to think that it's inspiring in the end. Like in the end, it's a happy ending, right? Like, here I am. So I'm hoping that it'll inspire people, and that if we do make a film about it, well, we already have the soundtrack because I made the album.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, happy ending is right. And despite everything you've been through, but dealing with you in the lead up to this interview and seeing other interviews with you, you come across as a bright and cheerful and positive person. No one would deny you being totally the opposite, but what do you put that down to? Would the music have a lot to do with that?
I really do. I think music has been the key, and love. There's a lot of love in my life. I seek it out. I surround myself with incredible people who, have my back. And also one of the things I talk about in the book is that when I was very young, I grew up in nature. I grew up on a little place called Prince Edward Island in the east coast of Canada in the 70s. So I was a completely free-range kid running around the woods. And I feel like that relationship with nature and with myself and getting to trip around like that really taught me how to be alone, how to be introspective, and how to have reverence for the world and for life.
I was going to talk about where you grew up. I must admit, I've never heard of Prince Edward Island. Tell us about the area.
Well, have you heard of Anne of Green Gables?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So she comes from here. Well,
okay.
Technically she was adopted to Prince Edward Island. But Anne of Green Gables was written by Lucy Maud Montgomery, who was an Islander. It's set here. And so that's really what we're most famous for, except for lobster and potatoes and nice people. And I grew up in an artistic family here on the island. My mom's an actor. My father's a songwriter too. And it's a beautiful, beautiful place. It's surrounded by beaches, and it's very, very cold in the winter. But the summers are stunning, and it's a beautiful, beautiful place to grow up.
With your parents both being creative types, I guess you grew up with first-hand knowledge that seeking employment in that type of field is not by any means guaranteed financial reward. When it came to seeking out a music career at all, were you sort of a little bit put off by what you'd seen growing up?
Yes, there was no way I was going to do this. Absolutely not. I was going to be a lawyer. I wanted to be an environmental lawyer. That was my passion. And then I got a record deal shortly after high school, and that happened really magically because I was on a ferry boat jamming with my friends, and someone from a record company was on the boat, and they gave me a publishing deal and a record deal. So I thought, I'll do one record just because I've got some songs in me, and then I'll go to law school and have a real job, and then I got a major label deal after that. So, okay, 2 records, then I'm going to law school. Anyway, I still have not made it to law school, but I will be teaching some creative writing at the university here. So I didn't get to go to university, but I get to show up and teach, which is nice.
Right. So you didn't even make step 1 into the progress towards a law career.
I did not. Although, I do get to work with my passion in a lot of ways here. I do high-level reconciliation work with First Nations and the government. And that's really something that matters a lot here as a Canadian of settler descent. And so I have lots of lawyer friends who I work with who, I use their legal brains, and we get to work doing some really pretty beautiful, love and action kind of stuff around that. So, I know I don't get to be a lawyer, but I get to work with them.
Yeah. I've no doubt you've told that story a million times about that day on the ferry and then getting discovered. Have you ever stopped to ponder what path your life would have taken had you not got on the ferry that day?
Well, I missed the ferry before it.
Oh,
so
just as well.
Think about that a lot. I have no idea. I like to think that I would still be making music and that I would have figured it out somehow. But that was just, life can be very serendipitous sometimes. And I guess that's where I was supposed to be. And I'm still with Sony Music Publishing. That was almost 28 years ago.
Wow. Mm-hmm. What are your memories of making that very first album? I believe the label took pretty good care of you in the creative process of that record.
Yes, it was an amazing experience. I mean, I learned a lot. I didn't know anything really about recording, and so going in so green, and then having all these people around me all of a sudden, and trying to learn to stand up for what I felt and heard and wanted. Learning how to trust my own voice, and then also how to trust when other people knew better and to let them experiment. That's one of the things, when you're young, that learning to discern who to trust, and how to have the confidence, especially in the face of, people who should or say they know better. So yeah, that was quite the process. But the record company was incredible.
Was it a little overwhelming at the time to have all that fuss made of you so early in your music career?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I ever felt overwhelmed, like at that moment. But I did feel overwhelmed at the very end of writing of recording the album. I think that the pressure and just wanting to make everybody happy, because that's one of my character flaws, just wanting to please everyone. And I didn't know if I'd made a good record. I didn't know if I had opened myself and given everything I could, and had a small meltdown, which I write about in the book, and ran away from the studio in a very dangerous part of San Francisco with my A&R guy running after me while I'm crying. It was very dramatic. I was young, Yeah.
Looking back at your songwriting in those early days and your songwriting now, is the procedure for songwriting pretty much the same for you? Have you always had a set routine?
Well, I wouldn't say routine as much as with songwriting, I can feel songs coming through. I can feel them sort of pushing at me from the inside and wanting to come out. That's been the majority of my process. And just when they do, I grab my guitar and let them out. And then, but there has also been something, I was in a band for a while called Shay, with these two amazing songwriters, also from the east coast of Canada, Kim Stockwood and Davna Doyle, and the three of us were quite a force, and we would get together and write songs regularly together, and that was a very different process. And then, later on in my career, I went down to Nashville a little bit, tried co-writing, and I'm going to be going to the UK in a few weeks and doing a lot of co-writing there. And that is a very different process than waiting for a song to bubble up. It's like making an appointment with your muses to, and you hope a song shows up. There's no guarantee, but I'm very excited about it and looking forward to collaborating.
I did notice in the book you described two different types of songwriting, inside out and outside in. And I think you mentioned in the early days it was the inside out that you were most comfortable with. Now that the years have passed by, are you equally comfortable with both types of songwriting? And can you give a little bit of a description of those two types of songwriting?
Sure. Yeah, so the inside out songwriting is starts inside, like I was describing. It's you can feel it. It wants to be born. You have to get it out of you. It's like an exorcism. And those songs are very cathartic, very therapeutic. And you do hope that people, will enjoy them, but that you're not thinking about that when you're creating the song. That song is just spilling forth. And then the outside in is when maybe you make an appointment to write a song with someone, hoping, that you'll write something together. Maybe you're trying to write a hit that's a certain formula. Maybe you're trying to write a jingle for a radio. You're thinking from the outside in, what do these people want from me? What does radio want from me? What does, and it's a very valid writing process as well. The only thing is and great songs come out of that. I mean, I would probably say some of the greatest, especially pop songs, that are wanting to be born come from that process. So both are equally valid. I didn't know how to do the second one as I was up and coming, because I always used songs just to keep me alive, really, and get me through some of the crazy stuff that was going on.
So come album number 2, you're off to New Orleans to record with Malcolm Byrne. I imagine that would have been a wonderful studio experience for you back in those days.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Malcolm and I butted heads a little bit. The New Orleans is magical. Have you been to New Orleans?
No, I haven't. Love to, though.
Oh, it's so beautiful and mystical and deep and heavy, there's like this heavy mist around it. And the musicians that were on the record were just incredible. And I was married at the time to my guitar player who came, and he was part of the songwriting process too. And the food, the food was so good. Yeah, it was. I'm very happy with that record. I think we made a really cool album.
Now, you found yourself with major label connections with Capitol in the United States, and you really had a learning experience there about the fickle nature of the music industry. You were dropped from that label while you were pregnant and told that maybe you should just focus on being a mum. That must have been gut-wrenching at the time.
Yeah, it was. It was a really hard thing to hear. I don't think they could get away with that today.
No.
But at the time, I thought I could do it all, and that but I guess, didn't work out that way. And I was able to really relax, actually, and just, go through my pregnancy. And I was still with Network Records in Canada. They stayed with me for 15 years through all my babies, many albums, and, but yeah, the fickle nature of the major label world. But, we have to remember, like, in their defense, it was right when downloading began, when Napster first hit. All of a sudden, I had just come in on the cusp of when they were spending millions of dollars on an artist. Like the amount of money they put into my videos and my record and promotions and touring, like it was crazy. So what ended up after that album came out is suddenly there's no revenue really, like with all this streaming. So it was a really, 2000, 2001. It was a really hard time for the music business. And so even though I didn't enjoy the experience, in a way I feel like I kind of dodged a bullet and was let go from a very, very large debt.
Yeah. Now, solo-wise, we didn't have anything from you for a while after that, but we did have Shay, which of course was named after you. Yeah, which was named after your sister, who sadly you tragically lost in a car accident. And it all happened around that same time, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
It was quite a time. I tell you, I learned what I was made of.
But looking back on that time, do you think being involved with Kim and Dan that in Shay was the best option for you career-wise at the time? A new baby, your marriage at the time was falling apart. I could imagine you couldn't possibly focus on a solo career with all that going on. So having those girls around you was probably the perfect therapy.
Well, I mean, having lost my sister, who was my best friend, and, she was only 18 months younger than me, to have these two women who were so incredibly loving and talented, they sort of stood beside me and held me up. I was a brand new mom, like you said, and went through a breakup at the same time. I mean, it was definitely that time in your life where it's make or break, sink or swim. Or sing or sink, I think I put it. And that's what happened. Kim and Daphne just came and they held me up, and we got on stage, and city by city and song by song, we figured it out, and we just, I got strong again. I got strong again because of them, for sure. So I don't know, I don't really look at things like if it's a career decision, but for my heart and for my life, it was exactly what I needed to do. And gosh, we had so much fun. And we got nominated for a Juno, which is, as you know, like a Canadian Grammy, it was a blast. And they're still my best friends.
And you reunited with them and recorded again recently, didn't you?
Yeah.
So that sisterhood bond is still there.
Oh, it's still there. And we intend to make music together forever.
Wonderful. So a bit of self-analysis here. What do you think would be your best quality as a songwriter? What part of the songwriting process do you struggle with the least?
I'd say lyrics I struggle with the least. Got a lot to share. a lot of poems just kind of fled. The thing that I, like my weak point would be, say, recording it, and I'm an okay guitar player. I'm not a, super solid virtuoso guitar player. So I like to write I also don't read music. So I like to write with people who, really are really great musicians. But especially if they need a lyricist, that's my favorite.
Is the editing process a heavy one for you, or Is there a certain moment where you know the song doesn't require any more editing?
Yes, it's that, that question of when does the painter know it's the last brush stroke?
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel it. It's instinctive, when you know the song is finished. It's a feeling that can't really be described, I don't think. Just of this knowing that you have something completed, and then you share the song with someone, and then it's completely completed once it's shared.
So over the years, how's the art of balancing parenthood with a music career? Has that been a struggle at times?
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's done both simultaneously knows what that laugh was. It's just the absurdity of it sometimes. One of my babies sleeping in my guitar case backstage in an arena. Nursing a baby while singing on Willie Nelson's bus to him, being up through the night, having to go on stage, get on a plane, screaming babies, it's wild. And even now they're older, they're teenagers, they're so supportive of me. And yeah, I'm glad I did it. I didn't tour with 3 though. I toured with 2.
Oh, okay.
And then by the time the 3rd one came, I was like, I can't do this anymore. So that's why the big break. That's why you didn't
yes.
for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was making ponytails, doing laundry, and grilled cheese sandwiches. Pretty much.
All very important. Absolutely.
Very.
Yeah. How would you describe a typical Tara MacLean fan? Is there a typical Tara MacLean fan?
That's a good question. I mean, the ones that I meet are usually the ones that are, really excited, about it. Like, I think it's probably more like subtle fans. Like, there's different sort of levels of fan. I have fans from every age group and gender, and I'd say that they're pretty open. Like, the people that I meet that approach me, are just really open and want to talk about the lyrics or the poetry, or again share their stories. So I feel like I kind of maybe draw those kinds of people who want like a more emotional connection or like intimate connection, because my music is so personal. So, and people who feel they know me, which I quite like, because, that's why I guess I put myself out there, because I want to be known.
Now, back to the book, it came with an accompanying album, which you released also, which included a lot of reworkings of some of your past songs. Talk us through the selection process of choosing which songs to include in that, which perfectly match the book.
That's a great question, because I was writing the book. I was about halfway through the book. So I knew some of the songs that I was going to be writing about, like Evidence and Let Her Feel the Rain. And I, some of my first singles, obviously, I knew that those would be there. But then I had to choose songs without really knowing if I was going to write about them that were just significant to me as a writer. Maybe songs that changed who I was in some way, or opened a door for me, or that I felt, were powerful, like Silence, which is, a track from my very first album. And it's to date still one of my favorite songs I've ever written. So I really wanted to revisit it, like I was so young when I recorded that, and I just wanted to see what would happen now. So the selection process was partly due to, okay, this is what I'm writing about, but also I just, just the process and exercise of revisiting young words with a more womanly approach.
Now, performing some of these songs live now that your story is more out there and people are more aware of your backstory, is that going to take you through different emotions when presenting them live? Because beforehand, I mean, you gave little hints of your story, but it was cryptic and maybe not as obvious to the listening public, but now people do know, and they know it all. Is it going to be a little bit different for you presenting those songs in a live situation?
You know what? I like it more. I've been doing a book tour, and that consists of doing a reading and then singing and then a Q&A with the audience. So I've been doing that since March, and it has been so beautiful to sort of, because I talk in the prologue without too many spoilers, but I talk about the first moment as a child when I realized that music was going to save me, and I give hints to some of the abuse and the poverty and the pain and the trauma and tragedy. but also that music like could elevate me in any, no matter how life tried to beat me down, that music was the thing that kept me, soaring above and able to rise. And the reason I'm writing about it is because I want people to know that regardless of whether you're a musician or, we have it inside ourselves to overcome and to rise. Like my key was music, but everyone has some kind of modality that can help them. I really believe that as an optimist. I believe in the power of the human spirit and in love and in intimacy. And so what ends up happening is I read that story live and then I sing the songs and people feel more intimate with me and with the music. And then I feel closer to them. And what's happening is just, it's more bonding. It's more, to me, it's more revealing. It's like the next level of, I think maybe for lack of a better word, just like being an artist, like learning how to really reveal something that I haven't revealed yet. So, and I hope that I continue to do that as I get older. So I'm loving it. I'm loving singing these songs now. And and like hardcore fans are enjoying that I'm singing them again because I think they weren't for a long time.
I noticed on your website you also do speaking engagements. Is that unrelated to the book tour?
Well, I'm just starting. Yeah, that's like a new endeavor for me because I just feel like it's a fun thing to do, to go out and talk to people because I'm loving the Q&A. It's it's really, really fun to be inspired by people and to be asked questions and to just, open up.
How do you find preparing for those in comparison to, say, preparing for a live concert?
I don't really prepare yet. Like I just kind of, obviously I have like some set things that I want to talk about, but, it is really, it's kind of the same thing to me.
Yeah. And just before I let you go, upcoming plans. I know the book tour is probably taking up a lot of your time at the moment. Is there any new music in the works?
There's a lot of new music coming out. Yes, I will be in the UK doing songwriting sessions because I'm writing for a new album. It felt so good to revisit the old stuff, but I'm just so ready. I'm so ready to sing new stuff, especially feeling lighter now, and like I'm just excited to see what comes out. Lots of collaborating. And festivals and playing live and starting to think about a new book and what this next book is going to be because I am hooked. I'm hooked on writing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Tara, it's been wonderful chatting to you. You're a shining example to anyone who's been through hard times that there is always light at the end of the tunnel. It is a happy ending. We're so glad it is. And it's an exciting future as well. We look forward to all that new music.
Great. Thank you so much, John. Lovely chatting with you. And this is my first interview with Australian radio. I haven't been there yet. I haven't, had any opportunity. So you're the first person in Australia to chat with me. So thank you.
That's a badge I'll wear proudly. And I'll let you know when all this is going to air.
Okay, sounds great.
Wonderful. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Ryan. Thank you so much, Tara.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.